A couple of years back, my best friend pulled something I still can't wrap my head around. She secretly recorded a private conversation between my boyfriend and herself, then sent me clips trying to make it look like he was cheating on me. When I begged her to stop, she just laughed and whispered, "You're just jealous he'll like me better." I didn't say a word. That happened 3 years ago. Then, just yesterday, I got a message from her mom, asking me for help. See, I was always known as the fat, ugly, not so bright friend. And weirdly enough, I didn't mind it. Back in high school, Brianna, that's my best friend, had it all. She got whatever guy she wanted, and most of the girls too. She was just that attractive. She had this perfect blonde hair that never moved, always smelled like Miss Dior, and yeah, she had a nice figure. So when we'd go to the library together and guys would only talk to me to get to her, I didn't take it personally. I was honestly happy for her. When her Snapchat was full of unopened messages from hot guys and mine only had messages from Team Snapchat and my mom, I was still happy for her. And it wasn't because she didn't flaunt it. Oh, she did. She absolutely knew she was better looking and she made that clear. But if I had to choose one of us to be the ugly friend, I'd still choose me every single time. Even though Brianna could act like a pick-me sometimes, I always believed she had a soft spot underneath it all. I figured she needed life to be a little kinder to her than it needed to be to me. But there was one thing that did bother me. I knew she leaned way too much on her looks to get by. And sure enough, right after high school, that started to backfire. I graduated with a 3.9 GPA. Brianna? The only reason she didn't fail out was because our creepy guidance counselor liked her a little too much and sweet-talked the teachers into going easy on her. So when I found out she was working all summer, I was actually surprised. With the way the world catered to her, I figured making her own money wasn't something she had to worry about. But when I stopped by her workplace, I realized her idea of working wasn't exactly the same as mine. She landed a job at one of those trendy boutiques downtown. The manager took one look at her and said she was perfect for their brand image. Meanwhile, I spent my summer doing data entry for my dad's buddy at his accounting firm. Boring as hell, and no one was calling me perfect for anything. The more we talked, the more I realized we were starting to view the world in completely different ways. It got to the point where I had to take a step back. I stopped texting her and got all my updates from her Instagram instead. In just 4 months, she went from 2,500 to 400,000 followers. Her comments were flooded with thirsty guys. She was getting free clothes, flying out to events, getting invites to Coachella, all of it. But I had a gut feeling a lot of her new friends were just using her for clout. So I kept being the one who left real, kind comments. I sent her gifts on her birthday, stuff I knew she actually liked. I just wanted her to remember that someone, me, cared about who she really was, not her follower count. Honestly, I thought that chapter of my life was closed, until I turned 26. By then I was a solid lawyer with my own place, a man who loved every inch of me for exactly who I was. And for some reason, hitting those milestones made me think about Brianna again. So I reached out. I just wanted to see if she'd changed. Maybe we could reconnect. Because no matter how many amazing new friends I'd made, there's something special about people who knew you back when. We agreed to meet at our old hangout, that little ice cream shop we used to blow our high school pocket money on. When I saw her, I had to stop myself from reacting. Her face was full of Botox, her lips overfilled, makeup caked on like a mask. We got past the fake-sounding "how are yous," and I tried to ease into the real reason I'd reached out. I asked if she was working. "Well, you see, I was," she said with a weird little smile. I smiled back, holding onto my ace, a job offer. I told her I was looking for a secretary and I was ready to pay $70,000 a year, plus full benefits. She looked at me and snapped, "What do I look like to you? Some charity case?" I blinked, stunned, and she threw her head back and laughed like I'd just told the world's funniest joke. It had been almost 10 years. How was she still like this? Still, I gave her a chance and kept talking. "You'd need to start soon," I said, but she cut me off. "Don't you know I'm an influencer?" she said, then pulled out her phone to show me her profile. She was gaining, one new follower every few months? Her DMs were dead, nothing recent. That's when it really hit me. Brianna wasn't some misunderstood beauty. She was that cliché, someone who peaked in high school. I was about to walk away when she jumped in front of me. "Hey, don't be sad," she teased. "If I had a flat chest like you, I'd probably be a lawyer too." I turned to go, but she kept pushing. "So when do I get to meet your boyfriend? Or are you worried he'll fall for me instead?" I'd had enough. "Brianna," I said, "you built your whole identity on being the pretty girl. But now? You're expired goods. No one's buying what you're selling anymore. So why don't you do what those sugar daddies did and leave me alone? That shut her up. She finally stopped following me around. But I didn't realize it right then. My words had cut her deep. So deep she decided to try to destroy everything I had worked for. 2 weeks passed. Life went back to normal. Work got busy with a huge merger case. Eli and I were planning a weekend trip. Everything felt good. Until one morning when my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Text after text from coworkers. Then my boss called me in before I even sat at my desk. Someone had posted fake screenshots on social media. Conversations where I supposedly confessed to cheating on the bar exam and bribing professors in law school. They even tagged my firm and our biggest clients. My hands shook as I scrolled through everything. The accounts were random, but I knew exactly who was behind it. Brianna. HR pulled me in for an emergency meeting that afternoon. I spent hours digging up emails, old transcripts, anything I could use to prove it was all fake. My boss believed me, but warned we had to tread carefully. The firm's reputation was at risk. That night, things got even creepier. I started getting alerts about weird login attempts, first my email, then my bank account. Whoever it was, they were trying to break in using old passwords and security questions, things only someone from my past would know. Things like my first pet's name, my mom's maiden name, Brianna-level knowledge. I changed every password I had, turned on two-factor for everything, called the bank and added extra protection. Eli stayed up with me till 2 a.m. helping me lock everything down. But Brianna wasn't done. A week later, my elderly neighbor Mrs. Kaplan knocked on my door. Said she'd met a sweet friend of mine, described Brianna to a T. Thought it was so lovely that someone cared enough to surprise me. My stomach dropped. Brianna had been in my building, talking to my neighbors, learning my schedule. Mrs. Kaplan had unknowingly told her everything. When I left for work, when Eli stayed over, even that I usually got coffee at the cafe downstairs on Saturday mornings. I tried explaining, but she just patted my hand and smiled like it was all silly drama. The next day the notes started. Slipped under my door, little pieces of paper with creepy personal details. What I was wearing, when I got home, even what I ordered for dinner. Nothing directly threatening, but the message was clear. She was watching. I installed a doorbell camera that weekend, and sure enough I caught her on video, sliding a note under my door at 3 a.m. I went to file a report, but she claimed she was visiting Mrs. Kaplan for tea. Technically, the building had no rule against that. The security guard just shrugged and said his hands were tied. That's when she got crafty. Eli started getting DMs from some client who wanted help with branding for her new wellness company. She offered him double his usual rate. He almost didn't respond, but the money sounded too good. They arranged to meet at a downtown coffee shop. What he didn't know was she planned to show up. She kept touching Eli's arm, leaning in close, acting all flirty while secretly recording him with her phone hidden in her purse. Eli shut it down fast, told her he wasn't interested, brought up that he had a girlfriend, me, and walked out after just 10 minutes. But that same night I got a bunch of video clips from a blocked number. They were chopped up and edited to make it sound like Eli had been flirting back. His voice spliced together saying things like, "You look amazing," and "I'd love to see you again." All of it cut from different parts of their short conversation. In one of the clips I even heard Brianna's fake giggle in the background, that same high-pitched laugh I remembered from the ice cream shop. Eli was pissed when I showed him. We sat down together and watched the original video he'd recorded on his own phone, just in case something went down. Compared to her edited version, the truth was obvious. But if someone only saw her version, yeah, it didn't look great. We decided to deal with this on our own. No police. No lawyers, not yet anyway. Just the two of us trying to keep things from spiraling. Looking back, maybe that was naive. But I still had memories of the girl who used to split her lunch with me when I forgot mine, the one who held my hair back when I got sick at parties. A part of me hoped she'd eventually knock it off. I was wrong. Her next move came straight for my career. A formal complaint showed up at the State Bar Association. Of course it was anonymous. Claimed I'd been practicing law while drunk, said I'd stolen money from client trust accounts. These were serious accusations, serious enough to trigger an automatic investigation. I had to lawyer up myself. Spent thousands of dollars I'd been saving for a house just to defend myself. I handed over months of documents, bank records, work logs, anything that could prove I was clean. My firm stood behind me, but I could still see that flicker of doubt in some people's eyes. And while I was busy trying to save my career, Brianna started targeting something else, my past. She created a group chat with a bunch of our old high school classmates. Said it was for planning a reunion. Then slowly started dropping comments trying to rewrite history. Said I used to bully her. Claimed I stole her boyfriend in junior year. Total lies, but she peppered in just enough truth to make people wonder. Some folks had foggy memories. Others started posting things like, yeah, I always thought she was jealous of Brianna, or maybe she hasn't changed. My phone started blowing up with texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. Calling me a bully. Saying they always suspected I was two-faced. I wanted to scream. She was rewriting our whole past and people were buying it. That's when I decided enough was enough. It was time to fight back with facts. I dug out my old yearbooks and some videos I still had saved. Found one clip from senior year where Brianna flat out mocked my weight in front of a crowd. Another where she made fun of my clothes, saying I looked like I shopped at Goodwill. I didn't say anything, just dropped the clips in the group chat. The mood shifted fast. People started coming forward with their own stories. One girl said Brianna spread a nasty rumor that almost ruined her relationship. Another said she used to pit friends against each other just to stay on top socially. Brianna's lies fell apart as everyone compared notes. She left the chat without a word, but her little story had already crumbled. Still, she had one last trick up her sleeve. It happened during one of the biggest meetings of my career, a presentation to a Fortune 1000 client at my firm. Brianna showed up at the front desk dressed like a professional. Told the receptionist she had a legal emergency and needed to see me right away. I got pulled out of the conference room mid-presentation to deal with her. She was in the lobby putting on a show, yelling that I owed her thousands, claiming I'd stolen from her. Security tried to remove her, but she just got louder. My boss and several of the partners saw the whole thing. Even though they didn't believe a word she said, I could tell they were running out of patience. Afterward, my boss took me aside. Said he understood none of this was my fault, but the firm had an image to protect. If it kept interfering with our work, we'd need to have a different conversation. That night, I sat at my Kit Kaplan table, surrounded by everything, notes she'd left, screenshots of fake posts, video clips, building a case. Eli helped me sort it all out, putting everything in order. We made a timeline, tracking it from the ice cream shop all the way to now. Then I started digging through Brianna's social media. Her Instagram still showed the usual filters and fake glam, but cracks were showing. Same outfits over and over. Photos from fancy restaurants reposted months later like they were new. Even saw some of her designer stuff popping up for resale with her username. That's when I found out the truth about her living situation. I wasn't stalking her. Mrs. Kaplan actually mentioned seeing Brianna sleeping in a Honda Civic parked in the visitor lot. I checked. Sure enough, there it was packed with clothes, blankets, and fast food bags. She was living in her car. Sleeping in guest parking spots. Using the gym across the street to shower with a day pass. The same girl who used to brag about her downtown apartment was now homeless. A part of me felt sorry for her. But most of me? I was just drained. This had gone on too long. I knew it had to end. But I also knew it was going to get worse before it got better. And I was right. On a random Tuesday while I was reviewing quarterly reports, I got a message on Facebook. I almost deleted it, thinking it was some scam account peddling crypto or diet pills. But then I saw the profile picture. It was Ellen Carter, Brianna's mom. Older than I remembered, but definitely her. Those warm eyes. That same kind smile from back when I used to hang out at their place after school. I clicked her profile. Real photos going back years. Family barbecues, birthdays, holiday dinners. Even saw some mutuals I hadn't thought about in ages. I hesitated, then hit accept. Her message was long, desperate. The kind of message that makes your heart sink before you even finish reading it. She hadn't heard from Brianna in months. Said their last phone call ended in shouting and tears. Brianna had told her she was running some fancy marketing agency. Made up stories about big clients, a penthouse apartment with a doorman, and some tech guy she was supposedly dating who was about to hit it big. All lies. Ellen only found out the truth because Brianna's sister, Rachel, was doing unrelated research and came across a public eviction notice. Brianna Carter, the defendant. Filed 3 months ago. We agreed to meet the next day at a Starbucks near my office. I got there early, grabbed a black coffee, and found a quiet corner. Ellen walked in looking completely worn out, like the weight of everything had been sitting on her shoulders for years. She'd aged 2 decades since high school graduation when she hugged me and told me to look after Brianna in college. Her perfectly styled hair was now streaked with gray, tied back in a plain ponytail. The designer purse she always carried had been swapped for a basic canvas tote. She sat down heavily and pulled out her phone with trembling hands. Started showing me screenshots. Brianna had been asking everyone in her family for money, each message carefully crafted to sound urgent and real. Her cousin Carrie gave her $3,000 for some made-up surgery, complete with fake medical records. An aunt paid $1,000 for car repairs on a car that had already been repossessed. An uncle covered her phone bill for half a year, thinking she needed it for her so-called business. But the worst part, and Ellen's voice cracked when she told me, was what Brianna did to Rachel. Rachel always had a soft heart. So when Brianna showed up claiming she'd been unfairly kicked out of her place, Rachel let her stay. She fixed up the guest room, bought extra groceries, even lent Brianna her good clothes for interviews that never happened. 3 weeks in, Rachel came home early one day, caught Brianna digging through her jewelry box. Grandma's pearl necklace was already stuffed in her purse, along with a few other pieces. Brianna maxed out Rachel's credit cards, bought designer stuff, took out cash advances. It got worse. She tried to take out a personal loan in Rachel's name, using info she swiped from tax paperwork she'd found in the home office. When Rachel confronted her, Brianna didn't flinch. No guilt, no apology, just straight-up threats. Said she'd tell Rachel's husband she was having an affair. She claimed to have proof too, text messages, photos, even a video. All of it fake, obviously. But Rachel's marriage was already hanging by a thread thanks to work stress, and the threat was enough to rattle her. She kicked Brianna out that same night. Still, she was stuck dealing with the aftermath: identity theft, hours spent on hold with credit agencies, filing reports that probably wouldn't lead anywhere. Ellen, Brianna's mom, leaned in close and asked me, almost in a whisper, if I knew where Brianna was staying. I told her the truth. I'd seen her car parked in the visitor lot at my building. Sometimes early in the morning, other times late at night. She was living in that thing. Ellen broke down crying right there. Real tears. She didn't even try to hide them. She told me they tried everything over the years: family interventions, group therapy, rehab offers. Brianna would show up to a couple sessions, then claim the therapist didn't get her. She insisted she didn't have a drug or alcohol problem, just a money problem, a respect problem, and a world that was out to get her. I pulled out my laptop and showed Ellen everything I had: the fake Instagram posts where Brianna twisted my photos into her stories, the harassment that started off irritating and turned downright scary, and the complaint to the bar association that nearly wrecked my career. Ellen's face went pale scrolling through it. She said this wasn't the first time, not even close. Brianna had done the same thing to at least 3 other women who tried to help her over the years. Same pattern, over and over. There was Lena from college, Brianna's freshman year roommate. Lena got her a job at the marketing firm where she worked, even though Brianna had 0 experience. Brianna lasted 3 weeks before getting fired for stealing client info and trying to poach accounts for some fake company she'd made up. Then came the online harassment. Brianna made fake profiles, left nasty comments on Lena's posts, called her new employer claiming she was a thief. She even posted an alumni group saying Lena ruined her career out of jealousy. Tessa, another victim, made the mistake of letting Brianna plan her wedding. Brianna showed off a whole portfolio she claimed was hers, stolen straight from real wedding planners' websites. She pocketed vendor deposits, fed everyone a different excuse about why payments were late. A month before the wedding, the whole thing fell apart. Vendors were threatening to sue. Tessa's in-laws thought she was either incompetent or a scammer. Brianna went online claiming Tessa was a bridezilla who ruined their friendship over flower arrangements. Ellen explained the pattern. Brianna would make herself look helpless, just enough vulnerability to pull people in. Then she'd take until there was nothing left. And when someone finally called her out, she'd go nuclear, lie, lash out, destroy everything. But what she'd done to me? Ellen said it was the worst she'd seen. The longest. The most vicious. The most dangerous. She handed me contact info for Lena, Tessa, and another woman, Molly, who'd hired Brianna briefly to run social media. All 3 had agreed to talk if I needed backup, to testify or provide evidence. Then Ellen asked me something I could tell hurt her to even say. Would I consider not pressing charges if Brianna agreed to get real help? Not performative therapy. Not just checking a box. Real, honest help. I told her I'd think about it. But deep down, we both knew the truth. Brianna wouldn't seek help until she hit rock bottom. Until every option, every lie, every trick was off the table. That night, I called Lena first. She picked up on the second ring. When I explained who I was and why I was calling, she sighed and said, "I've been waiting for this call for 2 years." Her story mirrored mine, same tricks, just different packaging. Brianna's fake evidence was sophisticated. She forged emails, messed with timestamps, even had a voice recording that sounded like Lena admitting to stealing company funds. Lena got fired. Was unemployed for months. Hired a digital forensics expert just to clear her name. Burned through her savings. Tessa's situation was somehow worse. Her wedding disaster nearly ended her marriage before it began. Her husband started questioning how she could have ever trusted someone like Brianna. They spent their honeymoon fund on legal fees and vendor settlements. The worst part? The social fallout. Brianna contacted nearly every guest, spinning lies about Tessa being a nightmare who turned a flower arrangement into a feud. Some people bought it. Tessa lost childhood friends all because she tried to help someone she thought was struggling. Both women ended up filing for restraining orders. But Brianna? She found ways around them. She'd make new social accounts weekly. She'd send strangers after them, people who thought she was the victim and acted like her personal little army online. She'd show up right outside the legal distance, not breaking the order technically, but just close enough to scare them. They both told me the same thing: she won't stop. Not until someone forces her to. So I made a decision. The next morning, I filed for a restraining order. Eli helped me organize everything. We built a clean, thorough timeline, backing up every point with screenshots, documents, and videos. We printed every online message, every post, every piece of evidence. We even got a statement from Mrs. Kaplan confirming Brianna had been lurking around the building. My boss wrote a formal letter, too, explaining how the situation had disrupted work and hurt the firm's image. We pulled the building's security footage, too, Brianna sneaking around at 2 a.m., sliding notes under my door like some unhinged villain from a bad soap opera. The court date got set 3 weeks out. Brianna would get served and be given a chance to show up and defend herself. And I knew she would. There was no way she'd pass up a stage and an audience, especially one with a judge. But she didn't wait for court to stir the pot. Just 3 days after getting served, she launched a full-blown online campaign. And I've got to admit, it was disturbingly polished. She started a GoFundMe with a sob story straight out of a movie. Claimed she was a successful businesswoman being targeted by a jealous ex-friend, me, trying to ruin her life. Said I hacked her accounts, stole her ideas, and was now using the legal system to silence her. She posted old influencer photos and made it seem like they were recent. Said she needed money for a lawyer and to rebuild her business. It was all lies, but told so smoothly most people wouldn't notice. She even sprinkled in bits of truth: we were friends, and yes, I'm a lawyer, just enough to sound legit. She raised $500 on the first day. But the thing is, I'd learned from the best. From her. I sent everything to GoFundMe: screenshots, restraining order papers, timelines, video evidence. Within 72 hours, they'd reviewed the case and taken her fundraiser down. But of course, more fundraisers started popping up on different websites. Each one had slightly tweaked details to avoid getting flagged. Brianna just wouldn't quit. Then she came after Eli's business directly, full-on, coordinated assault. She hit every review site you can think of: Google, Yelp, even obscure industry-specific ones I'd never heard of. One by one, she dropped fake reviews. Each one told the same lie: that Eli took a big deposit for a design job and never delivered. Some reviews said he was rude during the meeting. Others claimed he made inappropriate comments. One even said he stole her design ideas and sold them to competitors. They were all one-star bombs. All dropped within 3 days. It pushed his real reviews down so far they might as well have disappeared. Eli spent days fighting back. He submitted proof that she never hired him, showed their meeting lasted just 10 minutes, and that not a dime changed hands. Some sites took down the lies after reviewing his evidence. Others didn't. They didn't have the tools or policies to verify anything. His overall rating dropped from 4.7 to 3.5 stars. Real clients started asking about the reviews. One even canceled a meeting, saying outright that the bad reviews had spooked them. I wanted to confront her so badly. I wanted to scream in her face about the wreckage she was leaving behind. But my lawyer had been clear: no contact. Just document everything. Don't engage. Let the system handle it. So I kept my mouth shut and kept stacking evidence. Then a week before our court date, Brianna switched tactics and things got weird. Food started showing up at my door. Stuff I didn't order. Pizza at midnight. Chinese food at 5 a.m. All from different restaurants. Always with a note saying it was prepaid by Jessica. Drivers were annoyed when I refused the orders. One guy got angry, thought I was trying to scam free food because the order was already marked paid. I had to explain it was harassment. Then came the service calls. Plumbers showed up saying I had a leak flooding the unit downstairs. Electricians knocked claiming there were sparks in my outlets. Appliance guys swore my fridge was leaking coolant. None of it was real. All fake calls from burner phones using slightly changed versions of my name or address. All of it designed to disrupt my work from home days. To make me look unstable to my neighbors. At first, the building manager was understanding. But after the fourth or fifth time, his tone changed. He warned me about fines for false alarms. Said repeated incidents could lead to lease termination. Brianna was trying to get me kicked out, by sheer persistence. A slow burn strategy. Death by 1,000 cuts. Make my life such a chaotic mess that I dropped the restraining order just for some peace. Eli started staying over more to help. We created a system. One of us would work while the other handled whatever disaster showed up at the door. I was barely sleeping 3 hours a night maybe, but I'd never been more focused. She picked the wrong person to mess with. 2 days before court, I was reviewing files when something clicked. In one of her fake GoFundMe posts, she claimed I'd gotten her evicted, said it happened just last month. But I remembered the eviction notice I'd found earlier. It was dated 3 months before we ever ran into each other again at the ice cream shop. I dug deeper. Spent hours on public record websites and legal databases pulling up court files. What I found painted a pretty clear picture. Brianna's life hadn't fallen apart because of me. It had been crumbling for years. She'd been evicted for non-payment, 7 months of back rent, plus fees and court costs. The landlord won a judgment for over $10,000. She never paid it. And that wasn't the only case. There were credit card lawsuits for unpaid balances. A defaulted car loan that led to repossession. A small claim suit from a former roommate over utility bills and broken stuff in their shared apartment. Brianna wasn't just broke, she was drowning. Her entire influencer lifestyle had been funded by credit cards and loans. The travel, the clothes, the meals, all of it built on borrowed money. When that ran out, she turned to friends. Then family. Burned bridge after bridge. Once she ran out of close connections, she moved to targeting anyone who showed her even a sliver of kindness. I wasn't special. I was just the next easiest target. I had a lot to lose. And I'd been nice to her when she needed a foothold. The day of the court hearing came, gray skies and drizzle outside, fit my mood perfectly. I wore my best suit. The one I kept for important presentations. I wanted to show up polished and professional. Eli came with me for support. And my boss even offered to testify. My lawyer Monica, sharp as they come, said our case was solid. One of the strongest she'd seen. The evidence spoke for itself. Brianna showed up 35 minutes late, looking like she'd slept in her car, which, to be honest, she probably had. Her hair was unwashed, tied into a messy bun. Her clothes were wrinkled, just a cheap blazer thrown over worn-out jeans. No makeup. No jewelry. No sign of the polished image she used to plaster all over Instagram. She didn't have a lawyer. Either she couldn't afford one or couldn't find anyone willing to represent her. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Morales, wasn't related to Mrs. Kaplan, my neighbor, but the coincidence still made me smile for a second. She went through the evidence thoroughly, barely asked questions. Just let the documents, videos, and records do the talking. The fake posts. The security footage. The notes slipped under my door. The false complaint to the bar. The fake reviews about Eli's business. The prank calls. Every piece painted a clear picture of harassment that just kept escalating. Then it was Brianna's turn. She stood up slowly, gripping the table like it was holding her up. First she mumbled. Said we'd been best friends since high school. That I'd abandoned her. Then her voice grew louder. She started telling the story her way. That I'd always been jealous, always wanted what she had. She pulled out screenshots from her old Instagram, trying to prove how popular she used to be. Said I was trying to steal her life, her identity. The judge raised a hand to stop her. She asked simply, "Do you have any evidence of harassment from the petitioner?" Brianna started shuffling through her mess of papers. Finally, she pulled out a text from that day at the ice cream shop. The one where I told her she was expired goods. She held it up like it was her ace. My lawyer, calm as ever, pointed out that this came after Brianna insulted me, mocked my appearance, and threatened my relationship. She explained that defending yourself with harsh words, in private, isn't harassment. The judge agreed. She even said the text showed I was trying to end the conversation, and that Brianna had pushed it further. That's when Brianna lost control. She started yelling that I owed her, that without her I wouldn't be anything, that she made me popular in high school, that I stole everything good in my life from her. She said real friends share everything, and that I was selfish for not helping her after all she'd given me. The entitlement in her voice was wild, like I owed her my entire adult life because we'd once eaten lunch together at 18. And the judge? She'd heard enough. The judge granted the restraining order. And honestly, it was even stricter than I expected. 3 full years of absolutely no contact. Not just direct but no third-party contact either. She had to stay at least 700 feet away from my home and my office. No social media mentions, not even vague ones. Any violation? Automatic criminal charges. The judge didn't mince words. Her voice was firm when she said harassment was a serious crime, and the evidence showed a clear, escalating pattern that posed a real threat to my safety. That's when Brianna completely lost it. She started yelling that I was ruining her life, that I'd regret this, that everyone would find out who I really was. Security guards moved toward her, but she wasn't done. She turned and locked eyes with me, her face twisted with rage. She screamed that I owed her half of everything I had, that she made me, that ugly girls like me should be grateful to have pretty friends like her, that I was nothing without her. The courtroom went dead silent. The judge looked over her glasses, stone-faced, and added a criminal harassment charge on the spot. She ordered Brianna to undergo a full mental health evaluation and set a criminal court date for the next month. Even as security dragged her out, she kept screaming about how the world was unfair, how everyone would see the truth eventually, that she deserved better. My hands were shaking as I walked out of the courthouse. Eli pulled me in close. My boss clapped me on the back and told me I handled the entire thing with class and professionalism. Monica, my lawyer, said the criminal charge would probably lead to probation, therapy, and maybe anger management classes too. Maybe, just maybe, this would finally push Brianna to get the help she needed. The next few weeks? Peaceful. Beautifully, blissfully quiet. No pizza deliveries at weird hours. No fake repair calls. No weird notes under my door. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe again. Sleep again. Think clearly. Work picked back up. I dove into projects with renewed energy. My boss pulled me aside one day and said he was seriously impressed with how I'd handled everything. Even hinted that a promotion might be coming. Eli's business bounced back too. After we got the fake reviews removed, his loyal clients flooded the site with positive feedback. One new client even said Eli's calm, professional handling of the situation was the reason he wanted to work with him. Eli and I started apartment hunting, ready for a fresh start. No more shadows from the past. Ellen checked in with updates now and then. Brianna had been officially convicted, harassment and cyberstalking. The judge sentenced her to 2 years probation with strict conditions, mandatory therapy, anger management, community service. She also had to pay restitution for my legal fees. Ellen admitted she wasn't sure how Brianna would manage that financially. She was back living in her parents' basement, working a retail job at the same mall we used to hang out at as teens. It was the first actual job she'd held in years. Ellen said the therapy seemed to be helping. Slowly, Brianna was finally beginning to acknowledge some of her actions. Still had a long road ahead of her, but she wasn't in full denial anymore. The therapist was focusing on Brianna's narcissism and her inability to build healthy relationships. As part of the work, Brianna had written apology letters to Lena, to Tessa, and yes, even one to me. Ellen said the therapist advised her not to send them yet. She wasn't ready, but the act of writing them was part of her treatment, facing what she'd done, even if only on paper. I asked if I could ever see the one written for me. Ellen said yes, but only if I wanted to. I told her maybe someday. Not now. Not yet. Maybe when more time had passed and the hurt didn't sting so much. 6 months later, Eli and I were packing up my apartment, getting ready to move into the condo we bought together. New neighborhood. New chapter. As I wrapped up an old photo frame, I found a picture from sophomore year, me and Brianna at the beach during spring break. Sunburned. Laughing. Arms around each other like we really thought we'd be best friends forever. Before the filters. Before the followers. Before she decided being pretty and admired mattered more than being real. I almost tossed the photo. But I kept it. Not for nostalgia. But as a reminder. A reminder that people change. That friendships can become toxic. That success isn't measured by likes or attention, but by who you are when nobody's watching. Mrs. Kaplan helped us move. She brought cookies and fussed over how I wrapped the glassware. Said the building had gotten too quiet lately. Missed having young people around. I asked if she'd seen Brianna recently. She shook her head. Said no, that friend stopped coming around after the court order. Then she patted my hand and said something that stuck with me. Sometimes, people have to fall all the way down before they can learn to stand up. Helping someone who won't help themselves, that's not kindness. That's enabling. The last I heard, Brianna was still in therapy. Still working retail. Her Instagram had been deleted as part of her probation. Her family said she was making progress. Slow progress. One day at a time. They said there were still setbacks, moments where the old patterns came creeping back. But the structure of her sentence, the therapy, the rules kept her accountable. I hope it's true. Despite everything she put me through, I hope she finds peace. I hope she becomes someone who can love without hurting people. Someone who doesn't destroy every bridge behind her. But me? My peace came from walking away. From choosing my worth over her chaos. From saying no more. From knowing that friendship should never come with a price tag, emotional, financial, or otherwise. Some friendships are meant to last. They grow as you grow. Others are meant to teach you. Brianna taught me both. First, she showed me what it feels like to be accepted when the world sees you as invisible. Then she taught me how far a person can fall when they choose image over integrity. And for that, strange as it sounds, I'm grateful. Life moved on. Eli and I settled into our new place. We got comfortable. Happy. Work was going great. I got that promotion, senior associate, corner office, the whole deal. The raise meant we could finally start planning a real vacation. Not a weekend trip, but a real one. But life's funny. Just when you think you've closed the book, it cracks back open. It started small. I got a LinkedIn request from someone named B. Carter. Looked clean. Said she worked in digital marketing. Had some mutuals from law school. I almost clicked accept before I noticed the account was created last week. Profile pic looked like a stock image. Generic. I blocked it. Then came the Amazon deliveries. Stuff I didn't order, a yoga mat. Phone cases for a model I didn't own, vitamins for conditions I didn't have. All sent to my old apartment. The new tenants were confused. The building manager called and asked if I could please update my address with whatever company was sending this junk. But I knew it wasn't some glitch. It was Brianna. Testing the waters again. I reported everything to Monica. She said it was suspicious but not quite enough to press charges. The LinkedIn account couldn't be 100% tied to Brianna. And since the deliveries weren't coming to my new address, it technically didn't count as harassment. So we waited. Documented. Watched. Eli noticed something first. He started getting Instagram follows from blank accounts, no posts, no bio, just random usernames. They'd watch his stories. Then vanish. One of them even DM'd him asking about design services using phrasing that sounded very familiar. He blocked them, saved the screenshots. Then my mom called. She said she'd gotten a Facebook message from someone claiming to be my old college roommate. Wanted to reconnect for my birthday. Thing is, I lived alone after freshman year. My mom, bless her, told the person to reach out to me directly. Thanks for sticking around and listening to my story. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss more true life stories just like this one.